When I say the word ecosystems, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Raise your hand if you see forests, oceans. What about grasslands? Okay, what about humans? That's what I thought too. Because we don't consider ourselves as part of the picture. We're the ones looking at the picture from the outside, separate. I mean, the word environment literally means surroundings, as in the things that are around us, not within us. And that's the story that we've been telling ourselves for a long time. The story that humans are separate and superior to that of nature. And yes, this story gave us immense power. Medicine, technology, and cities that reach the sky. But it also gave us permission. The permission to take without asking and dominate without consequence. And that's the story that we've been living. But it wasn't always this way. In fact, there used to be a different story. And I'm going to tell that to you today. Once upon a time, the majority of people on this planet had a deep reverence for nature. Nature wasn't their surroundings. It was their motherland. And they saw rivers as filled by spirits and trees as having souls. And if you don't believe me, it still exists in some places. I happened to visit one of these places the summer of my freshman year. I was in Tibetan Sichuan, and at first, I simply went for the beautiful landscapes and the trendy landmarks, like everyone else. But after I got there, something was not quite the same. You see, I was hiking to this source of the Yellow River, and as I was taking in the view, this beautiful view, I couldn't help but notice that there was this line of Buddha statues near the water. And there were these prayer flags that hung between the rocks, and these Buddha portraits placed side by side. And that's when I realized that this wasn't just any pretty sight. It was something sacred. And there was this middle-aged man there making offerings. I asked him what this place was, and he told me that the La lived in this water. I asked what the La meant. And he told me that they were spirits, half human, half snake, that inhabited water sources and in rocks and in trees. And if you polluted their home, it will lead to bad things like sickness and short life and a bad luck. And at first, I didn't really believe him. But I was, though, deeply fascinated by what he was saying. Because I could feel that he and everyone on this land genuinely believed it. And that's really how they kept this land so beautiful and clean. For most Tibetan Buddhists, there was no separate concept as protecting the environment, because they saw harming the environment as equivalent to harming themselves. It was not a law to be obeyed, nor a rule to be followed. It was their utmost respect and compassion for nature. And of course, this wasn't just in Tibet. It used to be everywhere. Indigenous Australians saw themselves as custodians of the land, and philosophers in Rome argued that we shouldn't be mining because it was just too violent. And then things started to change. In a land far away, a new story began to spread. And it told people that there was one God that sat above and separate from nature. And the missionaries carried the story across the continent. And they encountered people who still believed it the old way, that trees had souls and that rivers had spirits. And they condemned it. Primitive, they called it, savage. And then came the age of colonialism. And during this time, the European powers were so excited to carry this new story across the oceans. And they crushed the indigenous peoples and buried their nature wisdoms. Land was no longer seen as something alive and to be respected. It was something to be conquered and dominated and farmed. And then the Enlightenment arrived. Science, reason, order, all beautiful things. But it also transformed the way that we understood the natural world. Nature could be manipulated for the benefits of mankind. Humans became the rational masters, and nature became their unfeeling servant. And just like that, in just a few hundred years, on a planet that's billions of years old, we became the rulers of everything. And this gave us immense power. But it also gave us a strange responsibility. Because if nature is this fragile thing outside of us, then it kind of becomes our job to protect it. Which is why we started saying things like saving the planet or protecting the environment, as if nature is this fragile infant that needs us to protect. But what if that's not the case? What if nature doesn't need us to save it? In 1986, the Chernobyl nuclear plant melted down. Radiation poisoned the land, dozens died, and the ecosystem suffered. Hundreds of thousands of people were forced to evacuate their homes, never to return. And of course, we assumed that nature would die there. But we were wrong. In just a few years, wildlife came back and the forests returned. Today, Chernobyl is one of Europe's most biodiverse places. So nature has returned without us. So what I'm trying to tell you is that maybe nature doesn't need us to be saved. With or without us, the natural world will rebuild. It always has. Every mass extinction, every ice age, and every asteroid. The living world will endure. The question is, will we be there to see it? Because this story that we've been telling ourselves, that humans are separate to nature, has led us to the brink of something disastrous. And now our survival as a species depends on us telling a new story. In this story, we see nature as our family. She nurtures us, protects us, feeds us, and we treat her the same way back, because she is also deserving of our love and our respect. And we understand nature as karma, and every action has a consequence. Because when we cut down trees, we're not just clearing the forests, we're collapsing our own lungs. And when we burn fossil fuels, we're not just warming the climate, we're making it uninhabitable for ourselves. And when we make decisions that prioritize short-term benefits over the health of the land, we're not being efficient. We're killing the very system that sustains us. Chernobyl taught us one thing, that nature doesn't need us to heal. It will heal by herself. She just needs us to step aside. But are we willing to leave? Or are we choosing to stay? But this time, not as her master, but as her family. Because only when we see ourselves as part of nature will we finally earn our place to stay. Thank you.